What's up, everybody? I'm Thomas J. Bellezza, and welcome to another lesson, session, episode of The Right Mindset. Today, we are going to go over the ninth step in writing a script, enhancing your script in the third draft. So today, basically, we are going to go over the fact that this is an essential milestone in itself. And it will help elevate and evolve your script. And by the way, a third draft is not just about revisiting or reworking or revising. It's about infusing life, depth, and resonance into your storytelling. The third draft is more than just a version number. It's the bridge between your initial concept and a polished, compelling narrative. Here, you'll learn how to approach this phase with the insights gained from the table read, refining your characters, honing your plot, and enhancing the thematic richness of your script. The importance of this step lies in the transformation of your story from a raw concept into a vibrant, fully realized world. It's basically a phase that brings clarity, cohesion, and emotional impact to your narrative, ensuring that your script resonates deeply with your audience. So let's do it. Hit that intro and let's get started. Real quick, if you haven't already, but you feel like you want to because you've been enjoying the content, please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss out. Let's just jump right into it. What is the essence of the third draft? It's a great question. Thanks for asking. The third draft is more than just the third version of your script. It's a critical phase in your script's evolution that can elevate it to new heights. Understanding what a third draft represents and what it should accomplish is essential for every writer, whether you're a novice or a seasoned pro. So, what's the real goal of a third draft and why is it so crucial? A third draft is not about arbitrary numbers or minor adjustments. It's about progress, growth, and transformation. It signifies your script's journey from its initial concept into a refined and compelling narrative. The importance of the third draft lies in its power to enhance every aspect of your script. It's a stage where you can breathe life into your characters, tighten any plot threads, and delve deeper into your themes and subjects. It's about making your script not just readable, but unforgettable. Your third draft should aim to achieve clarity, cohesion, and emotional resonance. It's an opportunity to refine your character's motivations, to ensure your dialogue flows seamlessly, and to elevate your plot stakes and tension. It's about crafting a script that grips the hearts and minds of your audience. Because ultimately, this draft should be serving the creative idea. So here's the beauty of the creative process. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to a third draft. The choices you make should align with your unique creative vision, whether you're adding layers of complexity or simplifying for clarity. Every decision should serve your narrative purpose. But remember, there's no wrong answer when it comes to crafting your third draft. Your creative journey is unique, and the choices you make should reflect your narrative's needs and your artistic vision. What matters most is that everything you revise and refine should align and your creative idea, ultimately pushing your script closer to its fullest potential. Now, before we get started into the depth of the next lesson, or the next section of the lesson, let me kind of clarify what's going on here, okay? Every draft has a purpose. Your first draft is to get it out. Just get it on the page, train of thought, wherever it goes, okay? Your second draft is sort of to kind of go through it and refine it, you're rereading it yourself. You're looking at it. What does it need? What does it not need? Etc. Etc. Um, and you make sure everything's there. You go through your outline and you just, is this here? Did I get this? Did I get that? Right? And maybe you clean up some dialogue, etc. Etc. Right? Now you have your table read, right? And through the table read, you're going to get a lot of notes. So you're going to take those notes and you're going to place them into some sort of use into your third draft. But what I was basically saying here was that despite the notes you get, ultimately it's your artistic vision. So if somebody's like, I think you should explain this sooner because I didn't get it. But then it still has a payoff, and the majority of the table saw the payoff. Take majority rules, but also your artistic vision rules. The importance of notes from readers is that the majority rules. And what that means is if the majority of your readers are seeing a problem, this is why it's also good to have them sort of write down their answers, so like no one's just blotting out and someone's like, right? But everyone's answers there, and then you kind of sort of discuss the answers as a group. It allows you to realize what is working, what isn't working. Because if the majority of people there aren't really seeing it, then it probably is an issue. So with the third draft, you're going to take everything that you've earned, and now you're going to kind of like do the work. This is where you start dissecting ideas based on what people are seeing or not seeing. This is where you might say to yourself, you know what, this dialogue is a little on the nose, so let's kind of like break it up a little bit. Or maybe the dialogue was way off from being on the nose, and people were like, I have no idea what the conversation's about. Or, hey, I didn't see this coming. And that's really what the third draft is for. It's to take the impression that the script leaves on people as a group, as a table read, and allowing yourself to look at those notes and say, all right, what do I need to adjust? So with that said, how do we navigate the table read notes? All right. A table read is an inevitable tool in the screenwriting process, offering insights and perspectives that can help you refine your script. As you approach your third draft, it's crucial to understand which table read notes to focus on and why these particular insights are indeed essential. Now, of course, character dynamics is an important part of it. So that is one of the primary areas to concentrate is the feedback on how characters relate to one another and ultimately who the character is on the page. So pay close attention to how the readers perceive your character's motivations, actions, and interactions. If they don't align with what you thought they should be, or if they're seeing something you didn't see and you kind of like where that's going, you could lean into it. But obviously, if you want to keep your original vision and they're not seeing it, you got to do the work. So another thing, and what that comes down to is, are they well defined and are they consistent, right? Do their choices resonate with the narrative's themes and goals? And also, strengthening your character's dynamics can significantly enhance your script's emotional depth, because we follow the emotions of your characters. And if it's either right too much on the nose, or it's not there at all, or it's just not playing out correctly, this is where you kind of work with that. Another element that's very important to focus on when it comes to your narrative, your table read notes, is about the dialogue, the clarity of your dialogue, because dialogue is the lifeblood of your script. Readers' notes on dialogue clarity and effectiveness are invaluable. Okay. Look for feedback on whether the dialogue serves the plot, reveals character traits, and advances your story. Because addressing issues related to unnatural or confusing dialogue can make your script more engaging and accessible to your audience. Plus, dialogue really elevates who characters are, what they say, what they don't say, how they say it, when they say it, why they say it. Their choices of words are character. Now, in a novel, you got some behavioral things you could do with actions and stuff like that. In a script, the actions aren't as character driven, if that makes any sense. They're more like what is going on in the scene, etc. They're action beats, but they're not necessarily like in a novel where a character is moving through that. In fact, sometimes you try to keep your action beats to a minimum in a script, unless those action beats are narratively moving the story forward, because you want your actors, the performers, to bring life to the characters. So you don't really want to block the movement in the script, unless, of course, the blocking is narratively important, right? And that's not like they lift their hand to their chin, they say it while cocking their head. Like, that's not narratively important. Those are character choices. You understand what I'm saying? But anyway, so dialogue really should serve the plot, reveal character, and also advance the story. Now, as we say, narrative is made up of two things: plot and story. Plot is what needs to happen, and story is how it unfolds, right? The plot is usually simple, it's just the thing that needs to happen. But the story is where we get to see people making choices, we get to see the world build, we get to see how the consequences to their choices influence the narrative in a whole, but also we see how the characters interact and react. So your dialogue in a script is really the the foundational element of who these characters are, because what is a script primarily made of? Dialogue. That doesn't mean action can't add to the value of all those things, but usually, if your dialogue is not allowing plot, character, and story to appear, you might be you might need to reevaluate your dialogue. Another element that you really want to focus on with the notes of your table read is pacing and tension, because, well, these are the moments where the story drags or rushes too quickly, right? The moments that people are reading will tell you this is dragging or this is moving quickly. And believe it or not, dense moments, like dense dialogue or dense action, won't necessarily drag your script, and it won't necessarily rush your script, right? If you just do like quick things. Pacing and tension is a mixture of adding enough and also being vague but informative. So you got to find a real nice spot. But you might have a dense part of dialogue, but if that dialogue moves, if the dialogue has purpose, right? If there's not a lot of fluff, but it's still dense, that's still strong and powerful for pacing and tension. So you want to consider how the readers are suggesting you tighten up the scenes, or if they're saying, you should really let this breathe or not. And again, it always does come down to your creative choices. But if the majority rule is saying that, look, a lot is happening, but nothing is happening, you got to fix that. And by the way, a lot is happening, but nothing is happening. It means that character, world building, and plot are not really filling up the things that are happening. So that's where the term, lots of things are happening, but nothing is happening. If it's not moving something forward, either world building, plot, or character, you probably have to rework it, clean it up. That's really what slows down pace and tension, when it's just things. If a character's just like, yeah, the other day I was looking at cameras and I really thought to myself, this is probably the camera I want. I really like this camera. It's a good, strong camera. But ultimately, I didn't know if I wanted to go with the Kodaks or, the other one. Right. And then, it literally another character goes, yeah, anyway, because that character's on the phone talking to somebody, and they're like, anyway. And then two other characters have a conversation about, like, someone is dying in the hospital, right? But then that camera thing never comes back. In fact, their perspective on what cameras work never come back. Like, that's a waste of fluff. Like, that would literally slow down the story, because it's not adding any value to character, plot, or world building. It's just, yeah, it's a character moment, right? But in that sense, it's a negative, because it's doing nothing for the narrative. It's not really adding to it. It's not interesting. There's no payoff, right? That's why when you're doing your outline, your short form outline, you just write the plot. Like, what is it? Boom, boom, boom. This has to happen. This has to happen. Blah, 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 blah. And then the extended outlines, where you start adding more of the story elements, like how and why characters do things, who's in this scene, what's it moving on. And if you do that, you're actually writing just the core elements. There is no fluff. It's just straight to the point. And that means when you go to write, if you're writing a novel, you get to kind of play with your prose and create some imagery. But even in that situation, you want to make sure that even the imagery and the descriptions move plot, character, or world building along. Now, with screenplays, once you have all those foundational core elements with your short form and then your extended, now you get to play with subtext. You get to play with saying nothing. You get to play with the action instead of dialogue, right? Because you know what the truth is, and if you know what the truth is, you could create an emotional reality to that. Anyway, but with the consistency and logic of what's going on, you have to keep in mind that another area, which is the consistency and logic, is that there might be gaps in your scripts that you don't see because you're biased. The bias is that you know your script and your story inside out. You know stuff that's not even on the page because you did the work. Why the whys and the hows. So if table read notes are coming back as majority rule, that they're not necessarily seeing the consistency or the logic in the movement, that's when it's time to listen, right? Because these notes will basically ensure that your story remains coherent and believable. But either way, make sure that your plot adheres to the established rules and logic of your narrative, especially if you set up your world and then you challenge that world, but like you find the solution by breaking the rules established, and it's stuff that has never been explored. Like that's when you really have to start doing your work, Do you have thematic and emotional impact? Because honestly, you want to pay attention to that feedback. In fact, you might not even know what your thematic elements are because you weren't thinking about that. Which, you know what, that's fine. There's no way Taming of the Shrew, the author sat there and was like, what's the theme here? What am I going to write about? I mean, there's a small chance. Don't get me wrong. There could be a big chance. Whatever. I don't know. I wasn't in the room with them. But, but the idea that, themes usually develop themselves. Like they find the truth in there. And a lot of times the themes we write about are subconscious because they're things that we care about, things that are emotionally affected us. And it comes through in our art. Even if you're painting or drawing or playing music, like themes just naturally come out. Like if you read my lyrics and listen to my music that I used to do, there are themes. And I wasn't purposely like, what is my theme? My thing was like how I approach my stories, because I always was a storyteller. And I would say, what is the story I want to tell? Who are the characters I want to discuss? What are the situations I want to be interested in? But even so, the thematic and emotional impact of the story will come out in your reader notes. So this is where you get to pay attention to that feedback and relate it to your script's thematic depth and emotional impact and what you may or may not want it, right? And are they seeing things you didn't realize were there, which is like, do I like what they're seeing or do I not like what they're seeing? And if that's the case, in your third draft, you will approach those issues or gifts, like them seeing stuff you're not seeing is a gift. Like you might realize, wow, it is there. They're seeing it. It is there. Now that they pointed out, I see it. I didn't realize it. Maybe I can put a little bit more flavor on it, a little bit more of my voice, right? So, but you do want to know if readers are connecting with the themes, and if they're emotionally invested in the character's journey, or they're just like, this is all right, there's a bomb, it's going to go off great. But ultimately, their notes will help you strengthen the thematic and emotional core of your script, and you can make it resonate more profoundly with your audience. Now, while these are key areas to focus on, remember that not all notes from a table read should dictate your revisions. You have to trust your creative instincts and align the feedback with your unique vision for your script. The goal is to enhance the functionality of your narrative while preserving your creative voice. Because remember, you're the artist. You're the one that has the vision. It's very important to listen to the majority rules. It's also important to listen to the minor rule, where it's like one person says it, just listen to it. Be like, but why? Like, why is this one person? Right? But I wouldn't make choices based on one person going, I don't like the way these characters feel. Whereas the rest of the table is like, they're the best characters. Like, there's no reason to focus on that. But there might be a nugget of truth there. However, there's a really, I'm paraphrasing. There's a great rule where if someone tells you the story, uh, like they tell you a specific thing, like they're like, um, you should change this character from a doctor to an accountant because I don't like, I just don't like how the doctor thing feels. It's weird. Versus someone saying, I don't understand. I'm not really connecting with the doctor. That is a better note than you should change the doctor to an accountant because that's a specific what they would do for their version of the story. But I don't understand or I'm not connecting with the doctor is an emotional truth from their experience, which now you can say, all right, well, what can I do to make this character stand out? They're not telling you what story to write. They're telling you what they're feeling from it. And that's always a good barometer of whose advice or critique to listen to. Why does it take place in New York City? I don't know anything about New York City. You should do Chicago. All right, that note you might not take. But if they go, I'm a little disoriented because I've never been to New York. That means your story was written for New Yorkers, but if you wanted to connect to other people that are not New Yorkers, you might have to add a little bit more if it's narratively important. If the city is a character in your story, you have to allow it to stand on its own. So if people confuse, because that's an experience question answer. But anyway, but ultimately, what I'm saying is the table rule notes you choose to address in your third draft should serve the purpose of making your script a more engaging and coherent and emotionally resonant experience. All right. Navigating the finish line of your third draft. Knowing when your third draft is truly finished is a pivotal moment in your screenwriting journey. I assure you, it's a phase where the culmination of your efforts takes shape into a polished and compelling narrative. But how do you recognize this crucial moment? How do you recognize that it is ready to be a finished, completed third draft? Well, in a finished third draft, your script's theme should be clear, well articulated, and deeply integrated into the narrative. Dyslexia. Your audience should be able to grasp the central ideas and messages you intend to convey. Ensure that your characters' arcs and plot align harmoniously with these themes. Additionally, your characters should have undergone significant growth and transformation through the script. Their motives, actions, and relationships should be consistent and serve the overall narrative. When you feel that your characters' arcs are fully realized, you're nearing the finish line. Ultimately, by the way, not all characters need to change. Some could be static. Okay? Okay, some can be static. But you want to make sure that at least your protagonists or some characters from the beginning look the same but are different. You want them to be some growth. Now, you can have a character look one way in the beginning and completely change at the end. That's also fine. However, if they're the same character at the end, something has to change. The world around them, the character around, something has to grow, right? It's okay to make a character feel very stagnant. It's okay as long as the narrative and the world around them is growing. That's why I actually like the Daniel Craig movies, even though Sean Connery is like the essential, quintessential Bond. But Bond during any era beyond Daniel Craig, he's a stagnant. The world around him changes, right? Oh, there's a therapist. That is not a Freudian slip. I did not mean therapist over terrorist, but in Bond, it's a terrorist. He has to get in. He saves the world. The world is different. But Daniel Craig's Bond kind of evolves over the courses of the movies. So that's interesting that they kind of went that route. When will you know your script is fine? Your third draft is ready for the next stage? Well, the dialogue resonates with people because it's sharp, purposeful, and character personalities, and the narrative tone really resonates with, uh, you know, the ultimate value and soul of your script. So you want to ensure that every conversation advances the story, reveals character traits, and or adds depth to the thematic exploration of your story, ultimately world building, etc., etc. When your dialogue feels impactful and essential, your third draft is on the right track. Ultimately, a finished third draft strikes a balance in pacing. It should engage the audience without feeling rushed or dragging. Each scene and sequence should serve a purpose, contributing to the story's overall flow and progression. When your script's pacing feels natural and effective, you're getting closer to completion. And this brings you to your logic and consistency brain. You have to check for this logic and consistency through your script. You have to ensure that the plot points, character actions, and the rules of your narrative world adhere to a coherent logic. You want to address any inconsistencies or gaps that may disrupt the audience's immersion. Does this draft feel like it's emotionally responsible in resonating with your characters, meaning like are the readers really connecting to it? It should your script should evoke some sort of empathy or excitement or tension. There should be something going on. If they just read it and they finish and go, "Oh, that was good," but if they're like, "Oh, I like this part," that was, I didn't know if they were gonna get away, like that's something you want to invoke conversation, right? So that's important. And ultimately, does your script have a satisfying resolution? You want to consider the conclusion of your script. Does it provide a satisfying resolution to the story's central conflicts and character arcs? Are there basically any threads that haven't been touched on or resolved? A finished third draft usually feels like it ties up the loose ends and leaves your audience with a sense of closure and fulfillment, which might not necessarily be there in a first and second draft. It might not be there because you're still working it. And that's why the readers are there, because again, you have the bias approach because you know everything. So even when it concludes, you're like, oh, it feels great. Right? Not that it happens all the time, but you have to remember it's like someone saying your baby's ugly, and you're like, no, my baby's beautiful, and of course it's beautiful to you. It'd be terrible if you're like, my baby's ugly. Like, it's your baby. The script is your baby, so it's okay that you have that, but you should be like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? Because it's your thing, your creative endeavor. But you should also be open to listen. And that's why it's also essential to acknowledge that no script is ever truly finished, quote unquote, in an absolute sense. Instead, a finished third draft should represent the stage where your script is polished, engaging, and ready for further refinement or for sharing with collaborators and industry professionals. In the end, trust your instincts as a writer. When you review your third draft and feel that it achieves the goals you set out to achieve and accomplish, whether they be thematic depth, character development, or emotional resonance, you can confidently consider it finished. All right. I want to kind of add to that, but we're going to go into final thoughts. So I'm going to add to it final thoughts. Listen, even when your script is done, it's not done. I'm telling you right now, filming a script is not the script you film. Okay? And what that basically means is even you, as the writer, let's say you direct it, there's going to be stuff that happens on set that will change your script just from lack of money to maybe too much money to the actors that you bring in that bring a very specific style to the characters that make you think of other things, especially if you're writing, directing. The editing process is going to change the script. It just does, because remember, there's writing, shooting, and editing. Those three things, they change the script. But more importantly, in this industry, it's very rare. It's very rare that the script that's handed in is the script that's filmed. Because even if you're a first-time writer or you've written 100 scripts before, they get worked. If a studio is going to pick it up and put money into it, they're going to have you or someone else work that script. If you don't believe that, think about Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman started as $3,000. That was the title. And it eventually became The Pretty Woman You Know. And if you know that story, it's not the screenwriter's original script by any means. But what's important is that they see that you know these characters as a writer, that you understand these characters, that they're fully developed, that it makes sense, that you have an understanding of storytelling and narrative control. you know but even before you film, you got to work it, right? So you have to be willing to listen to notes, even from your friends, colleagues, etc., even the performers. But ultimately, at the end, you're the one who makes the creative decisions. But if you never make creative decisions and it's all, this is what I wrote, you won't grow as a writer, especially in the industry, especially when you're starting out. Like, you have to be collaborative in the beginning. Does that mean you should like work on things you're not as passionate about and wait until you have a name and then do the projects that you're passionate about? No. Let every step be a learning experience. Let every step help you get to the next level. Let every step help you build and cultivate relationships. And ultimately, your first project that you work on will not be your best project, even if it was your last project, because it will be a new project, because you have learned so much that if you go back and you go, I'm going to finally shoot the thing that I wrote first, that I is passionate, and you're going to see it and you're going to go, I've learned so much. I'm going to rework this, and it becomes something new. So it's okay. It's okay to sort of be like, I know it's finished, but I'm also comfortable with the fact that I know it still needs work. But with that said, I want you to understand, as you stand on the cusp of completing your third draft, it's essential to embrace and the understanding that this phase represents a crucial milestone, but not the final destination or your creative journey, just like I basically said. Writing a script is an ever evolving process, and each draft is a stepping stone toward creating a masterpiece. Now, don't get me wrong. Before you start moving the script and start trying to sell the script and start, shooting the script, all these things, you have to have a stop button on you. Meaning, like, before you allow other people to see it and before you start pitching it, you have to say, enough is enough. The third, fourth, or fifth draft is enough. Let's start getting eyes on it. Let's start pitching it around. Let's start, doing something with it. Let's do a table read and film it. Let's do a stage reading. Let's do something. Let's just give it some life. Right? Because if you just focus on just rewrite after rewrite after rewrite after rewrite, you'll lose your mission. There has to be a point where you put your foot down for yourself and start letting the world embrace the piece. Okay, that's just my subjective opinion. But ultimately, the notes from your table read, the revisions you've meticulously implemented, and the heart and soul you've poured into your script have brought you to this point. So you've already done so much. You've accomplished so much by just getting a third draft where it is. But you do have to remember they are not the definitive answers or the ultimate judgments of your work. Instead, they are guidelines, a compass pointing you toward the next phase of your script's evolution. And what I'm saying is the notes from the table read are not your definitive answers. They're just gentle guides. They're guidelines and compasses helping you get there. Because writing is an art, and like any art form, it thrives on growth, adaptation, and persistence. Your creative vision is a unique spark, and your script is the canvas on which you bring it to life. With each draft, you refine your storytelling skills, deepen your characters, and sharpen your narrative precision. Because your script will evolve alongside you. Motivation lies in recognizing that the creative journey is boundless. Every draft, every note, every revision is an opportunity to refine and elevate your work. It's a chance to delve deeper into your character's psyches, explore richer thematic layers, and ignite more profound emotional connections with your audience. So as you approach the finish line of your third draft, don't view it as an end, but as a new beginning. Embrace the art of storytelling with open arms and an unwavering passion for growth, because your script will continue to transform and shine brighter with each iteration. Remember, great works of great art are rarely crafted in a single stroke. They are the result of persistence, resilience, and relentless pursuit of excellence. However, your script too has the potential to become a masterpiece that resonates with audiences and stands the test of time. So embrace the journey and let your creative spirit soar. The world is waiting for your story, and with each draft, you're one step closer to sharing it with the world. And my last piece of advice is all great writers know that all great writers are rewriters. There you go. That's the simplified version. Next video in the series will focus on step 10. What is it? Is that correct? Did I put the right step on there? Let me just double check. I don't want to give you the wrong information, I want you to feel like we're a part of this, I feel like I didn't update my thing here. Here we go. Writing a script number 10. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, that's right. Okay. All right. So step 8 was you read through with other writers or a couple people that you trust that are craftspeople. Step 10 is actually doing a table read with actors. And then you sit back and you take notes from the readers and what you hear. All right. Because this is an exciting part of the phase. You get to breathe life into your script. You get people to kind of work on it on their own. And then you do a table read. And what's great is you could use this as a marketing opportunity. You could film it and put it on YouTube. You could film it just as to hand it out as a pitching thing. You can try to raise some money by doing a stage reading of it. So people come in and they watch the actors just do a stage reading. So you really get some great opportunities out of it too. And then maybe have a questionnaire for some of the audience. There's really great things that could happen in step 10. And we will go over that. Question. What's the most significant lesson you've learned from revising your work? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like what you watched and you've not done so already, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out. It was exciting. All right. As always, keep developing the right mindsets. I'll see you next time. Bye. Love you.